Yeah, okay. So middle of the halacha is a bechar behema tahara, which is and then the next siman is also chamor. Not the most common, shilas, if at all, common subjects. But after that, we get into more interesting subject of hilchos halva, of loans, stuff like that. Okay, so so sif tes. So yeah, we're talking about a bechar that's the firstborn, right? As we all know, firstborn of behemoths we're dealing with. Bechar ben tam ben balmo also begiza b'avayda. This is where it gets so complicated to have a bechar nowadays, because whether it's a tam, whether it's a balmum, you're not allowed to how do you call it, giza, share it. B'avayda, you're not allowed to work with it. And even if wool falls off the animal, that wool is asur bahana forever. But the wool that's on its body, if it gets shechted because it had a mum, hashchita materas gamas at tzemer, and then the shchita allows the tzemer, kamashi materas abasavas, or the same way it allows you to use the meat and the skin. Right? So basically, if you were to be stuck with the bechar, what do you do with that wool? The wool that falls off the animal, you can't do anything with it. And you can't even work with the animal either, because you might end up inadvertently cutting off the wool or benefiting from the wool. Fine. The only way to be allowed a bechar is with a mum. And is also to put it into a kippah, means to a jail. The shiyamas mounts is that it should die by itself. Meaning, you would think, so if I have a bechar and I can't do anything with it, so I might as well just lock it up and let it die. The mafsid kachim, no, because you're making kachim have a loss if you do that. Yud Aleph. Also, lasses mum b'bechar, and you're not allowed to make a mum in the bechar either. Meaning, the Kitzur Shulchan is going through all the options that you would want to do to try and get out of this headache, and each one he strikes down. You can't give it a mum either. Even to cause it to get a mum, you're not allowed. Let's say you want to put dough on its ear, that the dog will take it from there. Or and then it'll also, meaning you're basically putting dough on its ear to get the dog to eat it, and then hope the dog bites the ear. Okay, and similar things. Or you ask a guy to make a mum. Also, it is also to do that. But you are allowed to give it over to a guy to bring it up or to watch it. And then if he decides and if he ends up making a mum on it, then it would be okay. Okay, Yud Beis halakeach behema me'akum. Let's say somebody buys a payment from a guy. We don't know if it gave birth or not. This was actually yesterday's daf or 2 days ago's daf. V'yolda ata bebeis Yisrael, and now it gave birth in the Yid's house. Harei a suffix bechar. That is a suffix bechar. Afilu akam masiach lefitumai. And even if the guy masiach lefitumai, meaning he doesn't, when you ask him, so he's not believed, but he just happens to mention shekfar yoldel. That meaning he happens to say, "Oh, this is my second born animal." So you say, "Okay, so there's what's the shaila?" So loimahani, it does not help. V'gam hasimonim shebesitke karnayim loimahani, and even the simonim that are in the cracks of the animal's horns don't help to figure it out. Meaning this is talking about that people think that an animal that gives birth that has horns, if the more births it has, the more cracks in the horns. So he's saying that that's a farce. And even if it's milking, mahani, it still doesn't help to prove anything. You have to see it actually nursing a calf. And if it is making milk, and even the akum, saying with his innocence, meaning when he's saying with in his innocence, means he's not saying it to praise what he's selling. And he says already gave birth, mahani beparas, that it helps with cows. It doesn't help with goats. Meaning he's saying a combination of reasons to believe that it's not a bechor is okay. All right, but it doesn't work by goats. But you need a farmer for all this stuff to understand what exactly the nuances are about all this. Yud Gimel Kahanim and Levim Chayam Gamkim B'Char Behema Tahira. Kahanim and Levim are also chayiv with the B'Char Behema Tahira, meaning by B'Char of an Adam, of a human B'Char, Kahanim and Levim are not part of that. All right, but B'Char Behema Tahira they are. Elisha Kain Mafrisha Ma'akvel Atzma. Kain has to separate it, but he can give it to himself. Machziga B'Kedushas B'Char, but he has to keep the kedusha of the B'Char, like we've been saying before. You can't benefit from it, etc., etc. If a guy has shutfis, a partnership with Yisrael and behema, and somebody who gets a behema from a guy legadla to braise it for shiachliku bevlados, so that they're going to split it, peturim and a bechayra. The pater from Bechor, we mentioned this last week. Should never petel kol rechem and bnei Yisrael. It says a peter that has to be redeemed from a bechar from bnei Yisrael. Actually, call me Yisrael until the whole thing has to be from a Yisrael. Benachem or kabel behema Yisrael, and a guy who gets a behema from Yisrael legata to bring it up for sheyachlu bevlados, and that they're going to split up the vlados. That way, it doesn't help. I mean, it only helps with the guy to the year, not from the year to the guy. If you want to be potter, you have to sell the mother to a guy. Now this gets to, and we mentioned it last week, but here's the main crux of it, and this is why we don't hear about these cases at all. Mitzvah limkar la'akum is a behema tahira. It's actually a mitzvah to sell to the guy a behema tahira or that he should become a partner before he gives birth, in order to exempt him from bechar, and then you don't have this whole issue. But when you do that, you're getting rid of the kedusha of the bechar. This is better, so that he shouldn't. It's better that way than people are going to end up messing up with the hair, with the wool. I'm sorry, and using the animal. You're going to end up messing it up. It's a very interesting thing. That means normally we're not supposed to be mamayid in the kedusha of a bechar or any sort of hektish, but here we're trying to head off a potential issue, which is that you're going to end up messing up with this animal. So better that you should sell it, and it's even a mitzvah. And if you give the fetus, if you give the fetus to the guy, loy mahani doesn't help, even since it's not something that exists in the world yet. You have to actually give it the mother. But instead, the kidney should be in this way. You should make yourself equal with the guy, meaning come to an agreement on mechira para, on the price of the para. And you also have to rent him the place that the para is standing. And the guy will give him a pruta, and Yisrael will tell the guy, I'm giving you, I'm selling you or renting you the place that this animal is standing on. And that place, you're going to be kind to the para, or yasakain, or you could do the other way. After they agree on the price of the para, the guy gives a pruta, and then the guy pulls it to his property or into like a corner of the Rosh Hashanah. The kind is the Beshicha with mice, and then he's kind of with pulling it and with money. This gets into the whole, this is why the Mechiras Chametz is so complicated, because how do you get a guy to acquire things from a Yid? And then even if he gives it back to the Yid, we don't care, because as long as he made the kinyan and he made the proper kinyanim, now it belongs to the guy, or at least a partnership with the guy, and therefore you're out of the whole bechar, which is exactly what farmers do nowadays. When they realize that they have a bechar, they just do this and they sell it to a guy. Okay, Siman Kufay and Ches Hilchos Peter Chamor, the halachas of Peter Chamor. So Peter Chamor is, okay, let's see what the Kitzur says about it. Yisrael Yolda Bechar. Yisrael has a donkey, and the donkey had a boy. Mitzvah liftaise, it's a mitzvah mipaide. But kama paida and how much are you paid it? Meaning how are you paid it? Besemin aksavim. I mean, you did it with either with a goat or sheep. Bein zachar, bein nekeva, whether it's a zachar or nekeva, bein gadol, bein katan, whether it's old or young, bein tam, bein balmum, whether it's complete or it has a mum, eventually a treifa, as long as it shouldn't be a treifa. V'lo shachut, and it shouldn't be shechted. V'lo ben pekua, and it can't be a ben pekua. Ben pekua is when you have an animal that gets shechted, and then there's a fetus in there that's alive, and you pull it out. That's a ben pekua. V'yitin es aseh l'kayin, then what you do is you give the seh to the kayin, and then that's how you paid it. And when are you chayav to do the pidyon? Mishivalid, from when it's born, ad sheyamas, until it dies. Elasha mitzvah liftois miyad, but the mitzvah is to be paid it right away. Shalei lahashes mitzvah, in order not to leave the mitzvah. And after you redeem it, harehu biyad Yisrael chulin gemurin, then it goes totally out to chulin.
What happened?
I don't know. Okay, so miyad, kishehifrish es atleh. Immediately when you are mafish, when you separate the flesh, yetachas apetach chamor, that it should be under the petach chamor, nasa petach chamor chulin, then the petach chamor goes out to chulin. Afilu kainu shenasan es atleh lepayin. Even before you give the flesh to the kohen. Lafikach miyad kishemafrisha. Therefore, right when you separate him, avarach asher kedeshanu b'mitzvaysav v'tzivanu al pidyon petach hamar. So that's the bracha. You see these pictures of the rebbes; they get very into it. It's not so common. So when they do pidyon petach hamar, it becomes a big thing. Gimel kanu shenifta aser bahana. Before you paid it, so then this chamar is aser bahana. Bafilun nesani lekayin, and even if he already gave it to the kayin, gama kayin aser l'shtamish by. The kayin is also to use it. Achi yifta isai, till he is paid it. Yikach has a sell atmai, and then he keeps the seh for himself. V'meis kainim shenifta, and if he died or if it died before it was redeemed, you cover. Then you just have to bury it. You don't have to burn it, but you have to bury it because it has kedusha to it, since it was never redeemed. Okay, we'll stop. That's what we're up to, right? That's what we got up to.
Gimel, end of Gimel, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Have a fine night, everybody. Sorry for the